Hello everybody, I am MrGamingGuitarist, and I just finished watching tonight's episode of The Flash, so let's get right into it. Now, of course, as I always say, this is a full spoiler review, so if you have not seen this episode of The Flash yet, do not watch this unless you don't care about spoilers. So, this episode was called Magenta, and the episode starts off with Barry actually going on his first date with Iris, and I thought it was really funny how he kept overthinking the flowers and how he was arguing with Julian saying, but I leave at 7 and it's already 6:58, and then says, no, you're supposed to leave at 7, not 6:58. I thought it was funny. So then you see him just running around trying to get like getting the flowers, and you see the money being left on the table. And I thought it was funny because would those people working at the cash register or whatever it is at that flower stand, would they know that the Flash just bought flowers? That's probably what they were thinking. But anyways, I like how he says, oh, is the heart too much? Then he just changes it to where it just spells out Iris and flowers. And he says, oh, should I change it back again? But it was also really interesting, too, how Iris doesn't want them to talk about doesn't want them to talk about the Flash or the Flash-type things at their... during the date. But then again, of course, like clockwork, a robbery happened, so Barry had to stop that, and then Joe calls him in. So yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing about that Iris at the beginning of this episode doesn't realize is you can't have a normal dating life if your boyfriend is the Flash. That's just not gonna happen. So you always have to keep in mind that he has to do Flash things. So, next up, the portal opens, and holy shit, it finally happened. I thought we would have to wait so much later for this to happen, but no, we didn't have to wait. We finally got to see Jessie Quick. Like the real, actual Jessie Quick, finally. So I was happy to see her. But isn't it kind of weird, though, whenever she was running around, doesn't she seem... I don't know if maybe it's because she's at the beginning when they were showing her running around in Star Labs. Did she seem a hell of a lot faster than Barry? Or is that just me? Because, I don't know, maybe it's because we don't see Barry running around in circles over and over like that. Or at least we haven't seen, like, we see him do that when he's trying to stop tornadoes and stuff, but in that enclosed space, I don't know if it's just me, or it seemed like Jessie, just as her superhero name implies, is a lot quicker than anything else I can't speak today. She seems a lot quicker than Barry, at least on the surface. Does anyone else see that, or is it just me? Tell me in the comments. And next up, we find out that Wally looks disappointed that he doesn't have his speed, and that's probably because, it's funny because we knew in the last episode when Barry says the people that had their powers in the Flashpoint will have them again, and we saw the camera just change and looked at Wally. But now this time we notice that he just seems a bit upset, because it's like, well, we both got hit by that second particle accelerator, so why don't I have them? I mean, I can understand why you'd be upset, but then again, it's understandable. So then we find out who our villain for this episode is, and the villain is Magenta. And the last time I saw any character that was named Magenta, it was during Blue's Clues. So this is quite the throwback. So it's this foster child named Frankie, and she had it seems like a very abusive foster father. And apparently her eyes just turn pink, or no, fuck it, her eyes turn magenta, and she just goes ham and goes apeshit. So next up, we get a scene of Wells trying to convince Caitlin and Cisco to talk Jesse out of wanting to be a hero, and I can understand that he's upset about all of this because, of course, he always worries about his daughter, so he doesn't want her to be running around there, doing endangering herself. But then, of course, she's a speedster, so she should, with the proper training, she should be able to be as well as Barry. But we will, just like how Wally was like in the first episode. But we will see. So, anyways, then next up we get to see Joe talking to Wally, telling him he doesn't need powers to help others because when Barry, he tells him Barry was helping others because he had a good brain and he used that brain as a CSI. So then he tells Wally, and it's your brain that matters first of all. So he says you can still make a difference and you can still help people. So then I just loved how it was funny when he said, "Does this mean I still have to keep going to school?" And Joe said, "Yeah." So next up, so we get to see Draco Malfoy be an asshole again, and he just kept accusing Frankie of being a metahuman, and he just triggers her, and then we actually get to see that gold big sign that we've always seen there at the CCPD, which almost looks like a plaque, I guess. I don't know if you would call it a plaque, but that big gold sign. It looks almost like the Justice League, like it's supposed to look like the Greek gods or something, but it looks like it's trying to resemble the Justice League, because if you look at it, there's 7 people. Anyways, you see that big thing actually fall down, and then of course we get to see Barry save Julian, and we get to see Magenta take off, and and we notice now her powers are actually, it looks like she's sort of like Magneto, where she just controls metal. And so what happens is we see her try to destroy a cop car, and then we get to see Barry walk over there. And I really liked that sequence when he jumped up in the air and then got the cop out of the car while it was still when it was still in midair. That was some cool ass shit. So next up, we get to see Joe tell Barry that he is a cop, or that he says he has to give Wally a cop dad talk. And he says because he has to talk to him differently. And I really loved what he said, that he has to talk to Barry like a second daughter because he overshares his emotions. I thought that was really funny. Then he's just kidding. That was great because it's true. And yet, yeah. Anyways, so next up, we get to see Caitlin try to talk to Jesse, but then of course, Caitlin's not good. But then she keeps saying, "If I had powers, we damn good and well." She, in this timeline now, she does have powers. She's got the icicles and the snow and the, finally living up to her last name and becoming Killer Frost in our canon timeline. If that will actually happen, who knows? Because I don't know because I know that Killer Frost, there's good iterations of her as well as the villain side. So I wonder if Caitlin actually does become Killer Frost, because I wonder if there's an alternate name to her, where we had Firestorm and then we had Deathstorm. So I wonder what the Firestorm, if she ever was a hero or an anti-hero, if she went under a different name. I don't know, but we'll find out. I'll find out. I'm really looking forward to seeing when that happens. But anyways, she talks to Jesse, and of course Jesse figures out that it was her dad that was all up to it, and so she gets mad, and like a person that doesn't like being told what to do by her parents, and I don't know how old she's supposed to be, because she definitely does not look like a teenager, but I'm going to guess maybe she's 20 or 21 or something like that. But anyways, She says, she does the classic, you can't tell me what to do anymore, Dad, and then she just zips off. So next up, so we see Wally again. Like, the whole theme of this episode is Wally being jealous that he isn't the speedster too. So he tries talking to Jessie, and then he says, she tells him that she got her powers, but she got her speed because one day everything just kept slowing down, and she had no control over it. It just happened. And then he says, well, so you mean you need to jumpstart it, right? So then Wally's dumbass tries to run himself over. And rightfully so, Jessie's pissed at him, and then Barry's extra pissed at him. And so Barry wanted to, I believe Joe kept trying to get Barry to talk to Wally about stop trying to get your speed, or like Red Bull, stop trying to get your wings. And he pretty much told him everything he needed to say. So next up, let's see here. So then, okay, here we go. So one part, the big turning point that happened for Wells in this episode was when Caitlin said, stop trying to assume that her powers is what's going to destroy her, and help her try to understand them. And maybe then she'll be at your side, which she was right on the money there, because that's exactly how you're supposed to do it. Because, Wells, now, we already knew this before, but he absolutely fits the definition of an overprotective parent. And, I can understand. Well, I can't understand, because I don't have any children, and the thought of having children terrifies me, and it's just... Anyway, that's a whole other discussion. But anyways, a parent wants to take care of their kid. So, of course, he is overprotective. But still, he just needs to lay off just a bit. And I'm glad that we were at the point... Actually, no, let's get into that later. That's the ending of the episode. So next up, so Wells just tells Barry the simple truth. He says, I keep trying to help, but all it does, and so just like Barry, all they do is cause even more problems. And of course, they were really right about that. I really like that. But next up, we get to see how much Magenta hates her her foster father, but throwing a fucking tanker at the hospital. So of course, how do they stop it? But also, one thing I will say is it's funny because we don't see Iris actually. That's the one complaint I always have, is that you don't really get to see Iris working a lot. You don't really get to see her at a job. She's just there, and yet for the first time in quite some time, she's actually putting her reporting job to good use. We actually see her do it, and I hope the show shows more of Iris, being Iris West, the reporter, just like she is in the comics. Anyways, so it looks like in this universe, or this timeline now, they have panic buttons. So, and Barry acknowledges, hey, that's the reason why it's good that we've got panic. At least that's an improvement. So it's funny because at this point it looked like that tanker's falling down. How is he going to stop it? And at first I thought, man, this would be a perfect moment for Supergirl to just show up and hold that tank, or to hold the tanker. But no, if we do something that we haven't seen Barry do before, create a, what was it called now? I wrote it down. We get to see Barry make a wind funnel. He goes into a figure 8 pattern to help keep it floating, but then of course finally Wells has the change of heart we've been needing him to do, so that we can finally see Jessie Quick do Jessie Quick things. So we get to see her help the boat, and in a strange turn of events, we actually get to see Magenta, or we get to see Frankie come back, and so it turns out, she's the split personality, and we finally get to see, this actually ends up happening where the villain of the episode they did something different. The villain doesn't die. The villain doesn't get holed up in the fucked up Star Labs prison, where they don't give any. Where it's just like in the Honest trailer said, they don't give anyone any bathrooms or food. So yeah. And I'm glad that, you know, she actually helped do some good and was able to come back and be her regular self and helped remove the tanker and, you know, help save everything. So anyways, so I think the last time we saw another metahuman show up in the episode that wasn't good, that was actually good, I believe, I forget who it was, but it was, I forget who the guy was, but Clancy Brown, the military guy, who also, funnily enough, he played Mr. Krabs, and he was in Punisher Daredevil season 2, but anyway, that's besides the point. She was the girl with the red hair that I believe Cisco had a crush on her once. Those of you that know The Flash, that know the show, you know what I'm talking about. That was the last time I believe we saw a metahuman that wasn't completely evil, or something like that, or someone that gets introduced as the villain but really isn't actually a villain, or something like that. Anyway, I was glad to see them pull that again, do something different for once. So next up, so we find out later on that Frankie, so alchemy enters people's dreams, and that's how he gives everyone their power. So I wonder if his powers were always like that in the comics, but I really want to see a video, or an episode of the show where we finally get to see Alchemy be the villain for once, to see what he can actually do other than just send people after Barry, just like what Zoom did. So I don't know, it's like having a main villain sending other metahumans out to stop the villain. Is it just me, or does it feel like we're starting to see this repetitious pattern happen throughout the show? We'll just have to keep on going, but this episode definitely felt more in line with, you know, what I would expect to see from a Flash episode. So anyways, that's it. So and next up, Wells tells Jesse he's always going to worry about her, and I thought that was a great scene between the two of them, where he says, okay, I'll let you be I forgot what he said, but he said, you were always my hero, now it's time for you to be that for everyone else, or something. And we finally get to see, because I thought it was so weird how when she was helping hold the tanker up, she didn't have her powers. Wait, what the fuck she didn't have a costume. She wasn't covered up. She didn't have not even a mask or a bandana or anything. She was just out there in the open and no one would notice her. I don't know, seems pretty weird to me. But anyways, so I'm glad that we finally get to see her have her costume. I really, 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 really hope in the next episode, which is going to be the Mirror Master, which finally we get to see a classic, or someone that I think is considered to be a classic Flash villain. We get to finally see the Mirror Master, so hopefully we get to see some more team-ups this time with Flash and Jesse Quick. So next up, so then we finally get to have a bookend where the episode starts out with Barry going on a date with Iris. It ends with Barry going on a date with Iris. And this time, you know, Barry finally said the right thing. He says, we're not always going to be here. We can't pretend to be the same people we used to be, because this is just our lives now with the powers and the, you know. And so I'm glad you said that. But I liked how it looked like he was taking her all around the world, all at once. But anyways, so I'm glad that they were able to come to an understanding. So anyways, yeah. And of course we get the after credit scene where Julian and Joe and Barry see the security footage of I believe I don't know who that was. If it was Elk of the rival getting killed, and I don't know who that was. I mean, was it Alchemy that killed him, or was it a different guy? Because it seemed like it's a guy that's invisible. Or is it someone that can control people, even though he's in an alternate dimension, or whatever the hell it is? I don't know. But interesting stuff, and I'm really excited to see the Mirror Master. So anyways, I thought, I don't know if you can tell from my voice or my tone throughout this whole video, but I thought this was a solid episode. Nothing about it blew me away, but nothing, even though I'm glad we finally have Jesse Quick finally on the show. There's nothing about it that said this was incredible. And of course, that's to be expected when you're on the CW, but then again, even a solid episode of The Flash is always damn fine television to me. So anyways, I give this episode an 8 out of 10. So I'll be here next week reviewing The Flash once again, and of course, you stay here with me on the channel and subscribe to me here so that you don't miss out on future videos from me where I'll be talking about The Flash, where I'll always be reviewing Supergirl and The Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. So yeah, make sure you watch that. So you don't miss out on any of my reviews of the CW DC shows. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you for tomorrow's episode of Arrow. Bye. Oh, and also, Red Dead Redemption 2, holy shit. It's finally coming.